Hey there. Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast. I'm Dr. Heidi K. Begay, and I'm a flutist, educator, coach, and podcaster. My God-given mission is to serve you. I am passionate about guiding you, the modern-day flutist, to discover your unique voice on and off the stage. The goal of this podcast is to help you thrive, both as an artist and as a musicpreneur. Go ahead and grab some espresso, your favorite notepad, and let's get to it. Today's episode 271 is titled Joyful Scaling with Judy Weber. Hey, Flute 360er. Are you ready to take your flute playing and career to the next level? Have you ever desired to be a part of a flute community but didn't know where to look? Well, look no further because the Flute 360 Accelerator Program is open. This evergreen offering allows you to join at any time and become a part of something bigger than yourself. With access to a mastermind, masterclass, and pocket coaching, you'll receive the support and guidance you need to reach your goals. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to accelerate your success as a flutist. To enroll in the Flute 360 Accelerator Program today, click the link below in the show notes. Our next meetup is Saturday, November 18th, 2023, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time. See you soon. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Heidi. How are you?
Good. It's so nice to finally connect.
It is. I've been looking forward to this all week, so I'm really excited. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. And the professional podcaster in me is like, okay, the first set of questions is I'm asking her questions for 360. Where am I? Oh, shoot. But thank you for carving out time for me and my 360ers. It is so nice of you to do that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited. And I'm so intrigued to find out more about what you do when I get to interview you next. So this is good. This is going to be so much fun.
Nice. Awesome. Well, you look beautiful. I love your outfit.
Oh, thanks. I actually dressed up today. So
You're like, who's going to see me today? And is it going to be people coming to the house or is it going to be like waist up for Zoom?
Exactly. Hey, I'm there right now.
Perfect.
With the comfy pants on the bottom for sure.
Oh, shoot. So this talk, Judy, is so exciting. And I'm so pumped to have you here because you may not know this, but all of my talks these past 5 years through Flute 360 literally have been talking to flutists, performers, educators, musicpreneurs, and all that jazz. And I rarely have had non-flutists come into the show. So thank you for carving out time for us. It is so exciting to have a music business expert in the Flute 360 world. So that way we can pick your brain, learn from you, because there are flutists out there who are thinking businessly. They are acting like a business. They are thriving in their studios, their gig schedules, but everything is so service-based. It's all private lessons and they are exchanging their service for time. I've been there from 2009 to 2015 and it's great. It's thrilling, but it's exhausting. And so if we don't think about scaling that flute studio, that musicpreneur's portfolio career, they can easily burn out. And I know you are all about scaling. So the fact that you're here, I'm so excited. So before I pick your brain though, I definitely want to hear your backstory so that way the listeners can get to know you that much better.
Sounds great, Heidi. Thanks so much for having me. All right. Well, you're looking at a small town girl with big dreams. And so, my dad was a factory worker, mom stayed home. So we didn't have a whole lot of money. We had love in the house and we had Jesus in the house. And so I didn't even know I was poor until I went to college. But, and I saw everything everybody else had. I'm like, wow, wait, you have a car? Wow, that's amazing. Anyway, so I went to school for music ed because I started with piano lessons when I was 10, fifth grade. And I remember feeling like that was kind of late, like I was late in the game, but I was so excited, so blessed when mom and dad got this used piano that had nicks in it and chips out of the keys, but I just was so grateful. And I loved it. And so I would constantly be practicing. And my mom, God love her, she would say, Judy, are you done soon? Because I was just clanking on the piano. Anyway, so I always knew since I was a little girl that I was going to go to college, even though nobody else ever did in my family. I just never worried about paying for it. But I chose music ed because number one, I loved playing the piano, but I didn't think I was good enough to perform. So education versus performance. And also I didn't think people like me could do my second love, which is like, I would watch these movies and I like, oh, I would love to be a lawyer. I want to be dressed up in fancy suits and advocate. I was always an advocate for friends and especially women. So anyway, so that's how I chose music education. And this may be fun for your listeners that I only applied to one school. And that was the school that my piano teacher went to, because I didn't know the difference between Penn State and the University of Pennsylvania back then. College was college. I had no idea what Ivy League was. I never even heard the word before. So I went to Susquehanna University for music ed in Pennsylvania and would practice 4 to 8 hours a day. The 8 hours when I would be, getting ready for a recital or, my own recital or, playing for vocalists and things like that. But I absolutely loved it. But I ended up graduating number 3 in the entire class, number 1 in my music thing, right? So I thought, well, finding a job will be easy. I could easily get a music teaching job. Didn't happen. I'm from Philly at the time. Now I'm living in Florida, but they said, well, there's plenty of jobs out west. Just go to Cali, go to Oregon. I'm like, no, I don't want to. I'm an East Coast girl. So long story short, then I ended up like, I couldn't get a job. I remember I interviewed the day before I got married. They called me that morning for a teaching gig. And I'm like, okay, great. I went there and I thought, oh, they're going to be so impressed with me that I'm getting married tomorrow. And here I am on a moment's notice, but they declined me, which is great. God had a plan. But I couldn't get a job. So then I worked at Macy's and it was mission based. And that's what got me into sales.
Wow.
And long story short, after that, I would work. I was like, this is easy. I'm going to go in outside sales. And ultimately, I worked for a company called Dictaphone, which put me in front of lawyers. And I remember one Friday night, I would interview with small firms, bigger firms. And this one was like a one guy operation. And I don't mean to be rude, but I left this Friday and I'm mumbling to myself in the parking lot. I'm like, that guy's an idiot. If that guy can go to law school, so can I. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it, but I'm going to law school. And so that's kind of my transition.
Wow. That's fantastic. I love seeing how God prepares people along their pathway and gives them people opportunities, experiences that they are going to actually utilize within their life in some capacity, whether it's in the home, in their career. It's mind-blowing to me to see how God just lovingly puts his hand onto people's lives and onto their heart and really molds them and shapes them. And at the time, you may not see the importance of that experience or that relationship in your life. But then 1 year, 2 year, 5 years later, you're like, oh, that past season has trained me for this season. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, the two things that from what you just said, just to piggyback on, God definitely opens doors and closes doors. And so now on the eve of my 58th birthday, coming up in just a couple of weeks, I know that if a door is closed, it's like, thank you, Jesus, because I know you've got better for me than I thought. And secondly, specifically as a music person who wanted to perform, the discipline that was just, I always had a work ethic. Mom and dad taught me to work, do not take handouts. We're poor, but we don't take handouts. We work for everything, that actually came back to bite me a little bit in entrepreneurship, a little bit of a mental thing. But anyway, as far as the discipline though, this girl is a worker. You tell me what to do and I will do it. And so the discipline, and that also, dovetails into what's required in entrepreneurship as well.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Let's go back 2 steps because you said something that was golden. And this is something that I preach to my Flute 360ers all the time. And I know they hear me, but like they don't just feel it or they're not on the same page with me just yet. And I totally empathize because you're right. As musicians, we have this identity of being a perfectionist.
Mhm.
It's not good until it's perfect, right? And we are woodshedding it. We are literally just chiseling away until it's perfect or deemed worthy enough to go onto stage and to present this performance to our people. But the flip side, a total 180, entrepreneurship has taught me MVP, minimum viable product. Get that bad boy
Ooh.
out there. Put it together, hot and messy. It's not going to be, perfect by any means because it will never, the product, the offering, the service, it will never be perfect. And so if you are woodshedding on that offering for too long and you don't put it out into your tribe, then you're not making an impact. You're not helping them. And then therefore you're not a business because you're not bringing in sales. You're just kind of, a hobbyist and being this awesome project maker, right? And so like you have to just like get it out there time and time again and iteration 2.0, 3.0, then you can start air quote perfecting it. And that is so opposite from the musician's standpoint, their world. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I totally resonate with what you just said.
Yes, would love that. And I think especially women, every woman I've ever met is like, it's not good enough. I'm not good enough, right? But what happens is, and I love how you just said project maker. What I find is that when women, and maybe it's across the board, but I only work with women, that's why I focus there. When we get ready to get ready to get ready, right? The website's not quite good enough, so I got to keep tweaking it. I'm not quite ready, or I have this offer, my service package that I think is really great, but I don't know. Should it be 6 weeks or 12 weeks, or should it be whatever? It's like, wait a minute. You need, as you said, to make it good enough and put it out there. And here's the thing. As a lawyer, like before I went into business coaching, I was a trial lawyer, and also I did appellate work. So I was very into details and perfection, and the writing had to be just right in order to win the case, in order to set things out and do it persuasively. And so what I found is, and what I find with my clients now is that when we have those high expectations, it is an absolute disservice. And until you knock that out of your brain, you will struggle and grow slower and feel stuck. And it's not as if we don't still have high standards, but it's high standards, but good enough for right now in order to get started. Because as you said, if you just kind of get ready, nothing's going to happen.
Yep. As my second company, Red House Productions, was forming and everything within this past year, it was like, all right, the clients were there. We were serving our podcasters through, tech support, monetization, everything. We still did not have a website. And so I was like, all right, Wix.com, here we go, $300 website. I'm putting something up for just the amount of time that I have for today. It took me 5 hours, got that out there. It's not where I want it to be, but I have a placeholder. I grabbed a URL. I'm done.
Yep.
Now I'm actually in the phase of onboarding a website designer to actually make it what I want it to be. But if I'm in that place of like, the URL has to be just right and the layout and everything, yes, that's what I'm striving for. I have high expectations. But if I don't get that website out there, then people are going to grab the name, So yeah, I totally 1000% resonate with what you just said. I love that. So you are helping women scale their businesses, and you have a fantastic podcast. So go ahead and share with the listeners what your podcast is all about, so that way they can get excited about the content.
Thank you for that. My podcast is called the Joyful Scaling Podcast, and it is dedicated to all things life and business for Christian women. And it's funny, I do have to say the original name, which I don't know if you know about this, Heidi. It was She Is Extraordinary.
Ooh, I did not know.
And the she isn't me. The she is you, all of my listeners, and I think each of us, we can so easily see the extraordinary in others, but not in ourselves. But ultimately, when I really went all in on the scaling and the joy, doing it with joy and simplicity, I decided to change the name. But we are almost 400 episodes strong. Can't wait to interview you, Heidi, for that. And almost 200 5-star reviews. I say that not to brag, but the scope of what we're doing, I'm all about up-leveling business for Christian women, because I think whether from the pulpit, they said it wrong, or we misunderstood, or whatever, we're not far enough along on our journey with Christ, there's a whole lot of guilt and confusion and shame almost, really, about being ambitious. Ooh, Judy, is that selfish ambition? Okay, well, wait, are you doing this to become a millionaire only, like for you? Or are you doing this to serve people with your God-given gifts? Because we're to be good stewards with all the gifts that he's been given, or he's given us. So really, the show is just about that, to expand your brain on, doing business God's way, which I think is with joy, even through the muck and the mire, which, from being, an established entrepreneur, and also with simplicity, because I think there's so much noise, especially from the secular world. You must do this. You've got to do that, and it's just like we're chasing all these things to find this elusive right one strategy, or, perfect script for sales, when really, more daily, I get convicted to the idea that the Lord God has made us to be extraordinary women of God and very impactful entrepreneurs at any level that we hear from him. Like, some may not ever aspire to be 7 figures, and that's great. Success looks very different for each one of us. But I believe that when we trust the Lord and look to him and ask him for advice, and say, Lord, is this investment worth it, or is it not? And should I be over here, or should I not? I mean, that is when business really starts taking off, when you're stepping out and living your faith in your business.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And nothing to bash the secular world, but as a Christian who is an entrepreneur, I don't see, and this is my own individual opinion, but I don't see how you can do business or entrepreneurship or be an entrepreneur without God's advice, wisdom, and leadership. It's hard. It's hard. But if I don't have that compass, if I don't have that North Star shining a light onto my path and saying, here, Heidi, when I give him the reins, I know I can be stubborn. I'm not perfect with that. But here, Lord, here's my business. What do you want to do with it? It's so much easier because I can discern the Holy Spirit's voice within my being and go, oh, okay, let's do business with this person. Let's not pick up that project. And it's so much easier. So I don't know how you do business without that leadership.
It's just like, I don't know how people live without Jesus.
Yeah, just in general. Yeah.
I would be dead without him, literally, and of course, eternally. I mean, you're looking at and listening to a woman who used to think abortion was a great thing. And then I met Jesus in a powerful way. Like, I was raised in him, but it didn't really impact my life until like my late 30s, when I was going through a divorce. And then when I got into Bible study, and that's when I realized, oh my goodness, even the story of Noah impacts my life. Like, I was like, how can these old stories relate to my life? Oh gosh, you just got to dig to find it. It's good stuff, right?
It's there. Yeah.
But to your point, like, I'm all about being a faith-fueled CEO. Like I always say, faith-based is full of hope, but faith-fueled is the miraculous realized. And that is when everything you say, everything you think, and everything you do is not only based and grounded in faith in Christ, but fueled by it, because that is the power. Anything the Lord is of the Lord is of value. And so we've just had, and this is really hard for me, we have to be quiet, and we have to stop thinking that I just said earlier, we have everything we need, but it's not necessarily our own finite human brain. It's really the empowerment of the Lord and his equipping to give us what we need and help us to discern and make decisions. Decision making is, I believe, the number one skill set of the entrepreneur, whether just starting out or more seasoned.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing your testimony. Founded in Dallas, Texas in 1996, the Carolyn Nussbaum Music Company is renowned for its international service for flutists of all levels. The Carolyn Nussbaum Music Company is your premier resource for everything flute. Their selection of flutes, piccolos, low flutes, and head joints from dozens of makers is truly remarkable. Also, their offerings of sheet music, instrumental accessories, teaching, and health resources are unmatched. Their in-house staff offers an unparalleled level of expert knowledge and personal service with an in-house repair staff certified in all major brands. Follow the Carolyn Nussbaum Music Company through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter to be updated with the latest news. Check out their website at fluteforyou.com. The Carolyn Nussbaum Music Company is truly your one-stop flute shop. And yes, those old biblical stories are so relevant. History repeats itself. What Noah and Sarah and Rebecca and Hannah did, it's relevant to our lives. And then those stories, like when you start living particular seasons that resemble what David went through or Daniel went through, you're like, oh, this is not just black and white on a page. This is living, breathing text in the Word of God, and I can actually apply it to my life. And the same God that Daniel served is the same God we serve. And so he's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So what is God teaching us through that person and through those circumstances?
Yeah, if I can say, one of the things that I learned at my ripe old age is that as I was reading the Bible growing up, and even in my 30s and stuff, it didn't really hit me that this is a real life. Like only when I became a mother did the story of Abraham, who was this close with the knife raised to kill Isaac, his son. I remember crying my eyes out, like, how could he have done that? And I was like, Lord, I couldn't have done that, Mm-hmm. Or Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that said, I trust you, Lord. And they walked what they thought possibly could have been to their death, and they stood in faith. Those are the kinds of where the rubber meets the road moments where I'm like, hey, ladies that I work with, my clients, okay, so this is when, are we going to choose faith or are we going to choose fear? Are we gonna give up? Are we gonna say it's not working? Or are we gonna say, well, that's not working, but let's see what will work and keep going and persevering, and never stop doing good. One last thing I'll say, and I don't mean to go on tirades, but I'm planning my mastermind event with a venue locally. And it is like pulling teeth to get them to even honor the things we've already talked about. And so, believe me, entrepreneurship is sanctifying work. I mean, you really
it is.
Yeah, you need to have to do it. But this is where walking the faith and saying, Lord God, I know you're allowing this to happen for a purpose. And it's not just me to be more discerning when I choose a hotel venue, for example, but even just standing firm. Am I going to freak out, or am I going to say, okay, Lord, show me the path forward? That's when you really got to live your faith. And believe me, I fall down. I am far from perfect, but
my disclaimer always is I'm not perfect. That's why I need Jesus. And so I totally love that. Thank you for sharing. So speaking to that flutist who does see themselves as a business, they are doing their thing. They have their gig schedule filled up. They have their private studio filled up with exciting students, passionate students. They are doing adjudicator, clinician opportunities, everything. The one thing that I would love to pick your brain about is scalability. So before my doctorate, between 2009 to 2015, I was teaching 50 to 60 flutists in the DFW area in Texas.
Wow.
Now, amazing opportunity. I loved it. I saw exactly that I was supposed to be there with my husband. I was in alignment with God's purpose in my life. However, at some point around 2014, I was like, this is not sustainable. I cannot be hopping around and going to 5 to 6 different school districts, driving thousands of miles on my Hyundai. It's not sustainable. So I decided to go get that doctorate so I could pursue academia, get that full-time tenure track job. God had other plans, put a pin in that. Coming back to the flutist who has a similar setup like I did between master's and the doctoral degree, they're running around with their head, like feeling like a chicken with their head cut off. They're doing all the things, and they're within their product suite. It is purely exchanging their service for time and that monetary value. It's great, but there's only so many hours in the day. So how would you coach somebody to start thinking bigger? Subscriptions, remote classes, different offerings where they still feel fulfilled, but they can get more bang for their buck and serve more people.
I so love this question. Okay, so many things come to mind. Let me throw out a few things. Systems are really important when you're scaling. And in addition to that, not doing it alone.
Okay.
Now, there's a lot of noise out there that says you got to hire employees and you have to pay them at least this much per hour or you won't get good work, whatever. And they seem to say your first hire just should be a VA. That may be, but not necessarily. And so I take my clients through a dream team protocol. And that's an episode on my podcast. Dream team protocol. I actually shared that. It's an exercise for you to determine what are the tasks you're doing now that aren't really CEO level, right? So it's not to say we're too good for it, but at some point, like you said, it's not sustainable for you to have that marketing hat on and do your own graphics. And then you're also your own sales team. And then you're also, just doing all of the grunt work. So the Dream Team protocol says we're going to set up and determine all the tasks you're doing right now, like brain dump it. And then with all of that, you've got to say, is this something really CEO level? Or is it something I really shouldn't be doing? Or the third column is, well, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't do it, but I like it. Like for me in Canva back in the early days. So, but then with those that you're not sure about, you ultimately have to go through this exercise and determine, okay, of the things I'm delegating, now I'm going to look for like skill sets. So then, okay, I need this done. They're all admin. Okay, great. Maybe a VA. And I'm going to look and say, okay, maybe I need a VA for 5 or 10 hours a week. Okay, great. But then I need this other skill set, maybe social media. I'm just throwing those out as, examples. Okay, great. So maybe you need a social media person to do X, Y, or Z. So then you're not putting upon one person, one additional person, all these things that maybe is not in their bailiwick. And so, you pay the VA a certain thing, and then you pay somebody else with a different skill set, maybe a higher hourly rate. So they're really independent contractors, but they're still working for you. And anyway, there's so much I could say about this, but I realized that one thing I want to gift your people with is my hiring guide.
Okay.
So if you go to judyweber.co/hiring guide, I lay out my entire process of where to find good people, what to pay them. I even, eventually through the detail of it, you have the option to grab my a sample job description and the whole process itself, because the interview process, because some people think, I guess the only way I have to do it is to go through Indeed. I found some of the best people, Heidi, through posting on my social because they know my brand. They are excited about being a part of it and furthering the mission. And so I'm sure with the audience here, that's what they might be surprised to find, that some of the best people are already in your circle to help you do some of these things.
Oh, thank you for that gift. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So so you found your dream team. What about letting go and delegating and being that good leader and trusting that, things are going to get done? Of course, you're going to train them and things like that. But I can see the flutepreneur going, and having that perfectionist hat on and going, the reason why I'm doing all of these different tasks and admin tasks and zone of genius work and things like that is because I want to be in control. I want to be able to have my hands on all the things because, again, we tend to be, as flutists, these perfectionists, and we want things done one way, my way. And how do you let go of the reins and trust your team to do the work?
I love this. And you can't be a control freak, but you do set parameters.
Okay.
Even when they're independent contractors. So there's kind of trust, but with expectations and standards set. So, a key part of that is every one of your team members needs to be accountable to KPIs, the key performance indicators. And by the way, I'm just going to back up now because I sense some of your listeners, I can just sense it. Overwhelmed. I'm zoning out. I'm not ready for this. Can't do it. Let me tell you something. Your next breakthrough in your business comes from you going in, leaning into what you have been avoiding and what you think is overwhelming. And take it step by step, because you're going to make mistakes. I've made plenty of them, okay? Especially in this realm of bringing on team members and hiring. But what I mean by KPIs, I just want to give a real simple example because I want to make sure this really lands. Every one of your team members should be driving revenue, either directly or indirectly, into the business. So if we think about a salesperson, well, that person is directly because they're interacting with your students or clients. And so, yeah, everybody they bring in, they're bringing in money directly. But even your admin can reach out and like maybe past students and you haven't heard from a while to get them back in, to re-engage them. That's an indirect activity where they might reach out to your past clients or, the parents and say, hey, because you never know, they might have had other kids since you were last in touch, whatever the scenarios are. So that you're thinking in terms of, you're my VA and here are your tasks, and assign certain of those tasks to these revenue generating activities. And the idea being that every dollar you spend and you invest in them will return two.
That makes sense.
Yeah. 2+. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much. Yeah. Not be a control freak. Have systems in place.
Yeah. So in a way, you are a control freak. I do have to say, you have to set the standards, right? So if you say, as an example, let's say this, like a social media person, it's not just about checking the box and posting, 5 times a week, but it is, your job is to have at least X number of people download my freebie so that you get their email. So if week after week goes by and they don't get that number and they get like 5 less or something, then you have to lead them and say, I need to support you in order to hit this marker. And so help me to know, let me see what you've been doing, and how can I help you to change what you're doing? We'll evaluate it and make some changes in order for you to hit that marker, that benchmark. So there is a leading there. But there is a definite element, and it is very uncomfortable to say, okay, I've trained her, I've given her, these boundaries, but now it becomes like I have to manage her and lead her instead of actually do the work when she makes a mistake,
Yeah. Loving leadership. I love that. And what you just described is, for me, what I hear is having that open-ended conversation and meeting them where they are. Like, how can I serve you? How can I help you to reach these goals?
Absolutely. Because part of this too, and I don't want to get too into the weeds, but, we bring on team members to make our life easier and to bring more revenue into the business so we can make more of an impact. And so, you might want to think about incentivizing them. So you set these benchmarks, we want to bring in so many dollars or so many new clients or students or so many whatever. And if they surpass that, then incentivize them so that the person that's hungry and really wants to advance your business and really become kind of like an entrepreneur in their own right, kind of sort of, you know what I mean, within your business. Imagine if instead of, 2 clients or 2 students a week, they brought in 4. Well, that makes sense for you to incentivize them. Maybe they'll eventually bring in 10. I'm talking about into a group program or into something that makes sense, right? I'm not talking about working 24/7, but that's the idea, where you set these expectations and also incentives in order for them to really have a reason to really go all in.
Oh, sweet. Perfect. So I know you have some exciting things coming up. Do you want to share an upcoming event or a project that you have your hands on right now?
Yeah. Well, I'm just really excited because in a couple of weeks, I am bringing my Joyful Scaling Masterminders here to the Panhandle of Florida. We're kicking off this next cohort with a live in-person 3-day event, which is going to be amazing. So if anybody's interested in learning more about that, you can find out about that on my website. But even more than that, universally, I'm writing this book that I've had on my heart for years. And I'm committed to getting it done. At this point, it should come out in the fall of next year. It's called Pursue the Impossible, because as I look back, that's what I did. I didn't know that I was doing it. Like I wasn't, I'm pursuing the impossible. Looking back, I see how people like me didn't go to college. I did. People like me don't go to law school. I did. People like me certainly won't get a great job in a major firm. I did. People like me aren't entrepreneurs. I did. So I'm very excited about that. So Pursue the Impossible, I think it's .co, will be the website once it's actually there. And anybody's interested in being on the launch team in 2024, I'd love to hear from you. But that's something that has been a passion project. And finally, I'm getting it done.
Congratulations. I'm going to have you be my accountability partner to get my books done that I want to author. And if in the back of my mind, I'm like, ooh, Judy's doing this, then I'm going to actually show up probably.
Let's do it. I would love that. Let's hold each other accountable. That sounds awesome.
Oh, cool. Oh my goodness. As we're wrapping up this amazing conversation, thank you for being here. Thank you for carving out time. You are such a blessing to us and to your community and the work that you're doing. Is there anything that you want to wrap up this conversation with? Any last sentiments?
Yeah. I mean, it really would be pursue the impossible.
Okay.
It is so, people that aren't entrepreneurs don't get us. I left a cushy in-house job making really, really nice money. And when I said I'm switching over and I'm finally going to help women in business grow their businesses, so many said, why are you doing that? You're starting from over again. You're starting from scratch. Why would you do that? And it's because I have a love of women and I feel like that's my purpose. And now that I've been doing this for all these years and see the results my clients get, I'm seeing that that's absolutely true. God put me through law school and that taught me how to think strategically, think to win. I use that lawyer strategic thinking every day in my business. And that's exactly what I teach my clients, whether in the accelerator when they're first getting started or in the mastermind when they're scaling. And so I encourage you, all of you listening, to pursue those big dreams that God put on your heart and take it one step at a time. But if that's what God has for you and you keep feeling that nudge, just like us writing our book and we're finally doing it, it's like, okay, stop running from what feels hard and just trust that in God's timing, we do our part, even step by step, and we will find ourselves in amazing places.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's phenomenal. So I'm going to put all of your links in the show notes below. Definitely 360ers, check out her podcast. It is a blessing in my life. I listen to it at least once a week, if not more. And congratulations on all of your success. And thank you for being here.
Awesome. Heidi, thank you. This has been a real joy and a blessing.
Thank you for listening to the Flute 360 podcast. If you want to be a part of a Flute community that you can call your own, please join me and other 360ers in our private Facebook group. Here, we hold discussions that matter to you, share our latest victories, and support each other through our musical endeavors. All you have to do is click the link below to join our private Facebook group called Flute 360 Family. See you there. Let's talk about flute.